All right, guys. So we're about 1 hour away from the game from the first game, the start of the first game, Spain versus Switzerland. It's a big game, obviously huge game. I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. I'm gonna be talking about the lineups that have just been announced, pretty much for the Spain Switzerland game, and we can see here for Spain there are only two changes. Um, Jordi Alba comes in for Gaya as left back, and then Pau Torres comes in for Eric Garcia in the middle of the defense as a center back in partnership with Laporte. Now, these aren't very surprising changes. And other than these changes, everything remains the same in comparison to the game against Croatia. You know, Spain goes with Unai Simon as goalkeeper, Azpilicueta, Laporte, Pau Torres, and Jordi Alba make up the defense. The midfield remains intact. Koke, Busquets, and Pedri. That's certainly their starting midfield in this Euro Cup. And then up front, Morata retains a spot as center forward, as striker in the middle, and then in the wing, Sarabia and Ferran Torres start the game once again, like they did against Croatia, even though Dani Olmo came in that game and made a huge impact, coming in from the bench. And for Switzerland, you have Sommer, Elvedi, Akanji, Ricardo Rodriguez, who missed the penalty in the game against France, but who's one of their big names, certainly. Widmer, Freuler, Zakaria, Zuber, and then up front, Shaqiri, probably their biggest name, Mbolo, and then obviously Seferovic, the hero against France. Now, we don't have a big surprises here. I was expecting to see, and I'm going to speak mostly about Spain because, honestly, I mean, Switzerland is, I'm not such a big expert on the Swiss players. I mean, I think the ones that we were expecting to see, I mean, they're playing, and there aren't any big omissions here. Seferovic will be the player to watch, even though Shaqiri is probably their biggest name. I mean, Seferovic is really their key player, their goal scorer, as we have seen against France. He's in great form. He was also fantastic for Benfica this past season. He was very good, at least. So I believe he ended as top scorer in the Portuguese Premier League, in the Portuguese First Division. So he'll be the goal scorer. He'll be the most threatening player against Spain, and they'll have to watch out for him. For Spain, I mean, Jordi Alba was expecting to. He didn't start the last game because he had picked up a knock in the previous game, so that's why he didn't start. But otherwise he's their vice captain. He's their starter at left back, their regular starter. So I was expecting to see him in this game against this huge game against Switzerland. And then Pau Torres, I would say that's a little bit surprising. Eric Garcia wasn't bad in the last game, wasn't terrible. I think I was expecting to see that partnership hold, between Eric Garcia and Laporte. But it's not terribly surprising to see Pau Torres come in again. I mean, this was the partnership going into the tournament, and in the first, I think the first couple matches, that's the partnership we saw in the middle of the defense, Pau Torres and Laporte. So not that surprising either. Azpilicueta, obviously, I mean, he's been great. He didn't start in the first two matches, inexplicably, really. I mean, Luis Enrique went with Marcos Llorente at right back. Marcos Llorente is a fantastic player, but he's not a right back. So that was a weird option, weird decision, considering that Azpilicueta is such a strong option at right back. He's the starter, and for Chelsea, the European champions, as right back. And I think he's Chelsea's captain even. So I mean, come on, that's a shoe-in. That's such an obvious decision. So Azpilicueta, I think he'll start as right back for the remaining of the tournament. Their midfield is working very well. I mean, they're being able to keep possession very effectively, and in the last 2 games generate lots of goal chances. Busquets has been a huge improvement over Rodri. Rodri is a good player, but Busquets is just, even though he's not super young anymore, he's not that old though. I mean, he's 32, I believe. So he's not as old as you would think. It's just that he started pretty young, playing for the Spanish national team and for Barcelona, but he's still not that old. He's 32, I believe. So Pedri and Koke, also they're having a very good championship, especially the last 2 games. They've been great. Pedri had that had that back pass for Unai Simon that could have ended in tragedy against Croatia. Ultimately, they went through, but that was an own goal. But that was certainly more Unai Simon's fault than Pedri. So otherwise, he's had a fantastic European Championship so far, and a fantastic season for Barcelona, obviously. Now up front, you have Ferran Torres. I think the doubt would be, I think Sarabia has been magnificent. You wouldn't think, he didn't have a fantastic championship, a fantastic season, for PSG, but he's having a fantastic European Championship for Spain, and he's arguably he's the biggest difference from the first 2 games in comparison to the last 2 games. He's brought in a certain unpredictability to Spain's attack, and also a sense for goal scoring. He's brought in some verticality as well to Spain's attack. They've looked much better with Sarabia playing. And then I think Ferran Torres, he's also looked really good. I mean, he's also looked really good so far. And Dani Olmo has been good, coming in the first from the bench against Croatia. But I think Ferran Torres was probably the right choice to start. I think he's a very talented player, and depending on how he evolves at Manchester City with Guardiola, it's going to be tough because obviously Manchester City has so much talent up front that he'll have some trouble carving out a place for him as a starter for Manchester City. But if he does, I mean, he's probably going to be Spain's next superstar. I can see Spain's future with Ferran Torres, Pedri, guys like Pau Torres, Eric Garcia, Unai Simon. I mean, that could be a pretty good future for Spain. But in any case, we're talking about the present. And in this game, obviously, like we saw against France, Switzerland can hurt you if you give them the chance, and then you're just going to go home. So they need to be at their best for this game. I think the biggest thing, and this is not a surprise at all, I would be very surprised if Morata didn't start. This is the hill that Luis Enrique is willing to die on for Morata, and he's convinced that Morata is the best choice. And perhaps he's just a little bit antagonistic because people have been criticizing him for going with Morata from the beginning, and now he's just, I think no matter what, Morata is the guy that is always going to play in the middle of the attack as striker, and that's Luis Enrique Spain for you. I would honestly, Morata scored that goal, decisive goal against Croatia. So yeah, that kind of like makes me question it a little bit. But I would still go with Gerard Moreno, man. I mean, Gerard Moreno is in such better form than Morata. I mean, yes, maybe that goal, and he played very well. Morata played very well against Croatia, but Gerard Moreno is like, he looks like he's at a different level right now. I mean, he's had like a sensational season for Villarreal, and really, if you look at the Spanish league, only really Karim Benzema, who's been sensational in the last couple seasons for Real Madrid. Only Messi, obviously Messi's Messi. And yeah, I guess you could say Luis Suarez, since he moved to Atletico Madrid. He was so influential for Atletico Madrid, especially in the earlier part of the season. I mean, but other than those 3 players, I mean, Gerard Moreno has been the most influential player in La Liga. I mean, he's been in the last couple seasons. He's been fantastic, especially this last season, winning also the Europa League for being crucial player winning the Europa League for Villarreal. So having Gerard Moreno on the bench and Morata start, for me, it's a little bit jarring, but I mean, that's just you would expect Luis Enrique to make that decision. Okay, so final. So now that we've looked at the lineups, what can I expect from this game? What can we expect from this game? I think, I mean, you have to be crazy to bet against Spain. I mean, they've been in unbelievable form in the last two games, scoring. Yes, they did go to extra time against Croatia, but they played. I really like Croatia. It's a country, and I spent some time in Croatia. I spent 3 months in Croatia once, and I love the country. I love the country, so beautiful. I love the people, but we're talking about football here, and I also love their football. I love their team. It's a country of 5 million people, and they've produced so much talent. They've produced so much talent over the years. They've amassed quite a great record, for a very young country, for a small young country from the Balkans. I mean, this is a team that has reached third place in one World Cup and second place in another World Cup. I believe they also have a third place or fourth place in the European Championships. I mean, it's a fantastic record, also a fantastic team, great players. So I think that for Spain, just for Spain to beat Croatia, I mean, that's, we're talking about the last World Cups runner-ups, so I think that's impressive. And they scored 10 goals. This is the big thing for Spain, I think, for me. They scored 10 goals in the last two games, and that was really their problem. In the first two matches, they had a lot of possession, but they couldn't score goals. But now, I mean, this is a free scoring team, with lots of possession. How can you attack Spain if you can't have the ball? And Croatia found a way. And Switzerland, obviously, they scored 3 goals against France, so you got to be very careful with them. But just going into this match, I think that it's hard. It's hard to bet on Switzerland against Spain. But we'll have to see, I guess. But yeah, I'm going with Spain. I think they get this done. All right, thank you very much, and I hope you like this analysis. And let me know in the comments what you think about the lineups. Thank you.